like this, and that word is masterpiece. You mentioned, what an arduous process it was for you, and as kind of a mirror to that, how long it took Eileen Chang to write the short story. When did you first encounter the story, and how did it come to life for you?
First of all, it was very hard for me to watch this movie. After this movie was made, I just couldn't watch it. I think the first time I watched was last year in an event. It's almost like it's very hard to face it. And secondly, it's very hard to articulate and talk about it in English because it's so Chinese. Everything about it is Chinese. So I'll try. I read it a few years, more than a few years before. This is obscure Eileen Chang's. Sorry, most of you have read Eileen Chang's, but this one hardly anybody noticed, including myself. I came across it, and like a second page, when he touches breath, I just hear that music I put in the movie. It's the Brahms intermezzo. I don't know why I hear it. I got to put that in the movie. I just hear that music, and it's at the end of this short story. I got really mad at Eileen. How can she write something like this? How dare she? I got really mad. But over the years, this thing just gnawing on me. It's like it won't leave me. It's haunting. So as I said, right after I got the Oscar for Best Director, I'm a big shot. I was like, I gotta do this now. If I don't do this, this is a part of a history. All sides of Chinese is forbidden to talk about. I grew up in Taiwan. The Kuomintang's like traitor. Mainland China, like no way. And Hong Kong, they're in oblivion. They don't know. So I said, I still have the smell of the thing. It's like lost China. It doesn't exist anymore. But it's in my memory from my parents, from my education. And it's disturbing. It's absurd. It's like a theater of absurdity. It's almost like a rhapsody, but it's so matter of factly. It's haunting. I gotta get it out of my chest. How, I didn't know. I just know I have to find this girl. We read over 10,000 actresses to find her. It's her first movie. Till this day, I can watch the movie and watch her face. I'll just cry, because that's like myself. I'll tell you another reason why I had to do it. I had a very similar, exact the same stage experience as her. So I shot a scene when she did the stage show, the patriotic stage show, exactly how I first stepped on stage. I look at her like she's me. She's like the female version of me, both Libra, and she looks like Eileen Chang. I was 18. I flunked the college examination. My father was my high school principal. That's like, my life is over. In preparing next year's college examination, I enrolled in a school. I got to hide somewhere, so I enrolled into Academy of Art in theater. That's something I always fancy. It's thinking movie. That's in the back of my head, but I wouldn't dare to admit. And then 1 month into the college, I was on the stage. It was exactly like that. The curtain opened. It's a gong. It's the fake music. And then the spotlight hit me, and everything turns black. I couldn't see the audience, and the spotlight blind my sight, and I just feel all of a sudden I have an outer body experience. I feel I belong to that where the dark is beyond the light. I don't believe I don't belong to the real world. I started to disconnect myself with the real world. I was into a different. No, I thought I was going to be an actor. I want to play. I belong to that fantasy world. So life changes, And I remember after they strike the stage set, I was helping. I feel everything disillusioned. Then we all singing and walking in a little rain, drizzly rain like that, exactly like that, to night eating. So I shot it exactly as my life experience. She is me. Of course, there are other parts that like me. I shouldn't say this, but what the hell? One day I was cutting the movie. I was kind of crazy. Tim Squire, who will talk here tomorrow, he was funny. So I told him, Tim, for this whole movie, all my life, I carry the head of Kwang Yu-ming, that young leader, repressed young leader. And I carry the heart of Wang Jiazhi, and I carry the balls of Mr. Yi. I feel like the whole day of making the movie was like that. It was like so confusing. And Tim was funny. He said, so you mean to tell me if your actors don't want to cooperate with you, they can tell you to go fuck yourself? Anyway. I think the short story was obscure. I don't think that's a typical Eileen Chang story, but she wrote about everybody else. I think that one she wrote about herself, and she exposed herself. That's why she spent 30 years hiding, and she wouldn't write long. If she get longer than 30 pages, it might break apart. I think it's very tricky. I've never read anything that tricky. There's so much hiding. So that's interesting, and she's a very powerful woman. And for the grand vision, patriotism, what have you, the patriarchal society, all the grand vision that came from men, from our education, she just used a little detail, very womanly detail, and just dissect the whole thing, deconstruct the whole thing. It feels like the 5,000 years of history, just like she took one screw off and the whole thing collapsed. It was very powerful, but very detailed, very feminine. And that gets to me. And actually, I get angry with that because I was brought up at it, but big breath. Anyway, it's a journey. I always hesitate for many times, I regret to get into there. But once I got into it, as I said, it's like going to hell with a group of people, and we're obsessed. We go all the way. You can see people's eyes change with actors. We're all possessed. By the way, the movie's very good. And the actors are unbelievable. It's not acting, there's something there, it's magic. I see the actors acting like really easy. I can smell them like 2 miles away, but I can still cry over it. There's something real in there that carry our spirit, the collective memory, our collective history, karma. It's hard to describe. Tony, it's the best performance I've seen. Down to every little cell, every little twitches, there's acting, like correct kind of acting, and she's unbelievable. So I've never seen anything like that anymore. It's precious. I have a lot of conflict in me, but one thing I'm sure, I'm so happy to capture the happening. The cinematography was exquisite. It's like, I went crazy. This is the only movie I paid to. I shot overtime, like by a month, nearly 2 months, and I paid for it. I never done that, and I just want to get it done. The mahjong takes weeks, 16 hours a day. Have to get it done. Everything. You just see them. You naturally. We didn't plan to do this, but it went very deep. There's no way I go back there anymore. But I'm glad I survived that, and here it is. It stays. That part of history, that Chineseness, which is lost it's very sadly, it's just not there anymore. It feels nostalgic. I feel very proud I captured that with all the help from people from Hong Kong, Taiwan, China, particularly Shanghai. They built that everybody want to capture that smell of the time. It's precious. I'm very proud of it. Everybody working that. It doesn't happen every day in every movie. It's just something I found very precious.
I want to make sure to pepper in some questions from the audience. We have some mics out there, so if you just throw your hand up right here in the second row.
Hello, first, thank you so much for doing this series of Q&As and screenings. I think there's a lot of interesting dichotomies in your movie, like, Sense and Sensibility, freedom and oppression. And I think one that's really interesting to me is this concept of faith and doubting, or more broadly, believing in something, whether it's religion or discourse or ideology, in this case, less caution, and also questioning it. So I'm wondering if you would be able to talk to that tension between faith, where I think we've seen Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon with the last jump, and sort of in Life of Pi, and also doubting, which I think you pushed that to an extreme in this movie. So I'm just wondering if you'd be able to talk to that tension, and also how your viewpoint on it has changed over time.
Okay, you gotta repeat the question. Is the echo? I have a hard time
The
understanding.
question is about, do you want to repeat it? Or the question
No,
is
no,
about
yeah.
the tension between faith and doubt in your films.
Yeah. In Life of Pi, the movie we screened yesterday, there's a line, doubt is a useful thing. It keeps faith alive. I think doubt is, if you just have faith, that's blind faith, and it gets stiff. And my personal life experience is like, you can believe all you want, the thing will change. We're just humans. The nature law, everything's way bigger than what we can comprehend and we can believe in. So doubt to keep you alive. You keep questioning, keep finding answer, that keep the things alive, keep yourself alive. That's my attitude toward faith. You have to keep challenging. I think I make movies. That's where my talent is, and everybody has their own talent and their way of expressing. For me, it's making movies. It's not words. It's hard for me to talk about movies, especially the movie I made, because it doesn't come through linguistic or logic. It's just like something there needs to come out, need to meet the audience. Then here we go. I think I have faith in movies rather than real life, in our imagination, or anybody taught me. Because I'm 70, every once in a while, something like deeply rooted in me is a lie. It's not true. My first movie is about filial piety. That's, of course, when a father cannot trust his son and he's demolished. When I saw my father growing older, he doesn't seem as wise anymore. When I get older, the way I feel about family, about my parents, it changes. I believe Kuomintang was the good guy. Then I came to the American, that was in the Cold War time, and I started reading communist books. And I realized we're the bad guys. Fuck me. And then everything turns upside down. I started to have American dreams. Maybe that's more trustworthy. And I believe if I were young, I would be a communist. I have to, because that's where the conscience is. Once I see the real China, then I'm an outsider again. It's not quite so. Maybe my parents are not that bad as I thought. So it's very confusing. And Taiwan go through a lot of changes. Now, I somewhat fulfill American dream, but American now is like, what? Are they the good guys? So things keep changing. And I thought my wife is, my kids, then they grow up, and things just keep changing on me. I've tried religions, but I'm like pie, like I keep an open mind. Uh, but it's as though faith just everything's science. And in a Taoist book, scripture, they tell you very clearly that nature has no kindness to us. They treat us like dogs. God treat us like dogs. Is everything the same? It's chaos. Stop making sense of it. It's nonsense. It's effort. It's a fruitless effort. But then, without chasing meanings, what are we? Why are we live? So that's the paradox of life. And I think in art, you're allowed, by nationalism, by politics, you have to take sides. In society, you have to believe in something, you have to group up. And in these days, it's really hostile to each other, not that pretty. But in movies, something like this, we can ask questions, we can have doubts, and I think that's very important. So if you were alive, we still love each other. I still have empathy for this group of idiots, basically. There's nobody even Mr. E. In her novel, she short story, she has very cruel comments on him. I couldn't do that. I don't believe it, and I think that would be an unwatchable movie. There has to be emotion there. I don't want to just treat him like a cardboard trader. He's a human. Life is a lot more complicated than we can handle or we can nail it. But on the other hand, if you don't have faith, you don't have direction, then we get lost. We get invaded, and we get So I don't know. I don't think I make movie to give answers, but to raise questions. I think questions and doubts are ultimately it's the way we show that we're still alive, we're still breathing. I think it's very important. Pretty soon AI is gonna figure out everything. you know, uh, I don't want to think like AI. Everything is cause and effect is reasonable because life is not. It's a lot more touching. We should have empathy and doubt and soft spot for our lives, our questions, our confusions. I think that's very important. Um, I have great respect for artists, for the actors, cinematographer, art department. We live in doubt, but um, it's very painful actually. It's scary, but we feel alive, and I don't regret getting into that. I said I'm very proud of them, every one of them. So that's all I can say about that. That's not an answer, but I think that's my attitude.
We can do maybe one more audience question. So who's got a good, concise, clear? Here we got a over here in the or maybe just someone with a mic choose, since it's a little difficult to identify someone from here. Here we've got someone over there.
Oh, thanks. Thank you so much. Last Caution features some of the best table scenes ever created, in my opinion, with rich subtext, and I especially love the performance conveyed through the actor's eyes. How did you direct your actors and collaborate with other departments, such as the cinematographer and the editing? Also, what kind of blocking were you thinking?
Please.
I'm not sure I totally caught that one.
How do I get cinematographer?
Yeah, I guess how do you collaborate with your kind of keep? Oh, for the for
the
mahjong
mahjong
scene.
scene, oh.
Yeah. All right. Great. Very powerful.
It's really.
Yes, it's very much a game of glances. Who's looking at who and how they're looking at them. How did you orchestrate that scene?
I will have to take a full semester's class to explain that to you. It's the hardest thing. Well, when I was in film school, one of the exercises they taught us coverages. I remember the example is Stagecoach. John Ford's Stagecoach is a dining scene, long table, people are eating, and then they ask us to do coverages, a storyboard. Then they explain to us, show us the movie, and see how they cover that. So they told me dining table is the hardest thing for continuity of all things. That and probably courtroom drama. But dining table, because everybody's doing things, when you change an angle, people doing it's all over the places. It's very hard to keep the continuity. Try mahjong scene. This is like 10 times harder than eating scene. I have a lady who, I don't personally play mahjong, but I know there's like so many layers. There's 3 layers of subtext, because it's very tricky. You have to build in the mahjong scene. And I feel bad for people who don't understand Chinese. They have to read subtitle. They're gonna miss the whole thing, what it's about. All the looks, and there's an internal relationship. There's a layer of their power struggle. Guess how many women sleep with Mr. E? And their power struggle is womanly things, power struggle, and the politics of the time of the war, the economics. There's many, many layers, and the spy layers. So that all has to be built in a very short time, mahjong into the mahjong play. I have this mahjong lady. She's used to assist a very famous Chinese director, Li Chang. So she's very cultured. She's our consultant on the Shanghai stuff, what they eat, the way they are, how to wear qipao, how to train girls wear a trench coat on top of qipao, which is like, you don't know, no, it's a strange Shanghai thing. So mahjong is one of them. So she married to a man who has 8 wives, so she's the leader. She's like Mrs. E. They all day long they play mahjong, so there's a lot of politics going on. So she arranged all the mahjong cards, and I have a book as a scripture of the mahjong scenes. Every tile they play has 3 layers of meanings, and then the camera has to catch. I have 2 cameras, keep swapping lenses and movement, try to catch the expression, the little things. It's quite exquisite. We shot 16 hours a day for that one mahjong scene, the opening. We shot 2 weeks. That's 12 days, 6 days a week, and 16 hours a day. It just drives people crazy. And everybody has to remember everything, and every shot has to start from the start. So they memorize by heart everything and their expression and the continuity of smokes and drink and this and that. It was it was very difficult. I just wanted to try something most difficult to see how it can be done. The operators. Rodrigo, the cinematographer, is the best operator I've ever seen. And the second camera was like the best operator in Hong Kong. So they're all competing. And the focus puller is the best in the world. There's no doubt, because they do all the martial art films. If an American camera assistant do a really good job on pulling, they say, you're good. Someday I can take you to Hong Kong and make martial art movies. You're that good. So those are the guys who's a lot of it improvisation too, because it's very hard to catch. And the adrenaline of shooting the scene is unbelievable. Thinking back, it's fun, but during the shoot, it's pretty tough.
I want to be mindful of time, but I'm thinking now we've had the privilege of sitting here and watching 4 of your movies together, and I'm wondering, what has it been like for you to look back at these films, and does it give you kind of energy and inspiration moving forward for what you want to do next?
It's a mix. Movies, the environment is not like these days. It's getting a lot worse. I get a lot of support doing this, and people are really friendly. open-minded. You look movie like something you do can change the world. But these days, people are more hostile, more stiff, the movie industry is really bad. Everything goes to streaming. They don't care about art, really. And we're all confused what to do. So I think it's a time for confusing. It's a very confusing time, certainly for filmmakers. I don't like to watch my movies once I've done them, getting out of my chest. And I put them together. People watch it like a movie, like a story, but I can't. It's just patches of experiences, memories put together, some painful, some pleasurable. It's just, I cannot watch them like a flowing story. And I said yesterday, it didn't really make sense why I want to do this. The motivation to take certain shots because I have to do them. They need to come out. And I'm afraid people don't understand. On the other hand, I'm afraid they do understand. I have nowhere to hide. So it's like a lot of things mixed together, and I tell a lot of direction to the cinematographers, the art department, certainly to actors, and they respond take by take very differently. So all that once it's done, and then you have to make sense on the editing table. It's a long process with doing the cutting and try to make a story out of it. Once that's done, I'm like, ugh. And then I have to spend 6 months explaining it, promoting, everything's great. You watch that all the time. People lie. It's like, well, everything's great. We love each other. And there's sound bites. You have to make it really simple, especially television, like sound bites, so they can use it, pop it, which is not the movies. And then radio, they let you talk longer, especially NPR, people like that. And English, really tough. If you go to London, they're sharp. North European, Israeli, they're pretty tough. I think Chinese press getting tough too. They're like really serious about questions, and they do their homeworks. So after the interrogation, feels like 6 months, I don't really want to see it. Also, I want to move on to the next adventure. But lately, I've been getting retrospective, and I'm getting lifetime achievements. I think I'm getting old. I told my agent I still feel like going out and kick some asses. I still feel like I want to do something, but it's very hard. In this series, I watched for nearly four movies, and because I'm doing the talk, I did watch the movie again, and I told my wife, who's here, and my assistant, who's with me, and we all feel the same thing. And I feel that the movie is pretty good. The movie, they're better than I thought. After 20-some years, maybe I started watching like a story. Maybe the pure emotion of which I want to inject into making the movie is not like distracted by all the activity of making them. Life is precious. I get to do this. It's a privilege. I should be very thankful, and I hope I still have a few to make. I said the other day, I think movie needs revolution. We need that spirit back. Don't recycle what's been good. I think we want to make something that people are going to a theater. I feel like when I was young, I watched movies sometimes. You walk out of theater, life changed, the world changed. I think we want to make a change to the world, keep us alive. I think that's important. And I still believe in theater. It's so sad to see it's collapsing. And things go to switching channels. And, every 3 minutes, nothing big happens or shock you, that people switch channels. That's terrible. And we start thinking like AIs with like short attention spans. we start losing feeling with each other, with ourselves, without being human. I think movie is like a temple to me. You know, going back in 75,000 years ago, we start doing that. We're staging things, and movie director is like high priest. You know, so this is like the congregation. It's spiritual. We don't go to church anymore. We don't go to church, like we're not religious that much anymore. But I think movie, a theater is still a congregation. It's spiritual. We're together. We share in a dark room something that's ridiculous, but it's the truth of us, and we touch each other in a deeper level. I don't want that to disappear. I think we need to upgrade our game so people come back to the theater. So we have talk like this, and you talk among yourself, like the Greek. You know, they play someplace, and they have orgies for a week, and then they drink, and then they talk, and then feel alive for like a week, 2 weeks. That's theater for us. I think we do need that. We do need that congregation. That's theater. And I have said in the introduction that this plays is my thesis to acting. I think they put this act as a tragic act. It's ridiculous. It's unbelievably ridiculous. But I think it's very touching. It speaks something true to us. I believe so. It did that for me. I poured my heart, I spilled my guts, poured my heart out, and see what happened. I think a lot of people respond to it. I think that's theater. I don't care if it's good or bad. I think it's pretty good. I'm very proud of certain things, because when you want to do something, you actually get it. It's very pleasurable. But that's besides the point. I think the attempt to do that, attempt to watch it and think about it, I think that keeps us alive. I hope that never dies down. I don't want TikTok take over this thing.
No, that's great. I mean, I can just speak for myself and my colleagues at Asia Society, and I thank everyone who's come out, that we're so honored that you've spent this time with us, that, you know, yes, you're worth celebrating because you've created one of the great filmographies, I think, in cinema, but we're also ready for your next movie. So thank you so much.
Thank you for being here.